Happy summer, folks. Welcome to the June general membership meeting for the Seattle-King County Coalition on Homelessness. My name's Jody, and I am joined here by most of the team, sans Rachel, but we've got Allison, Tim, Hallie, Kristen, and Noah. And we are excited to be here with you all. Hopefully you can see the screen being shared. In a minute, I'm going to throw up the mission, vision, and values. So I'm gonna, if one of you want to start getting your courage up to maybe read that for us. But we have a really great agenda for you all today. We are gonna talk about a little bit more information on the summer EBT Sunbucks. Tim's going to do a little bit of a review on that. We have the King County Regional Homelessness Authority Ombuds Office here to talk a lot about what they do and how they are here to support both providers and people experiencing homelessness and what their day-to-day work looks like and how you may or may not interact with them. We have a lot of coalition announcements to go over, so we're going to kind of bookend the meeting with some of those, and then we've got several really wonderful community folks here that are ready to make some important announcements to you all at the end of the session. So just a reminder, the coalition has a fabulous YouTube channel. So if this is something that you are not aware of, we want you to check it out and subscribe. So I'm going to throw some information into the chat there for you. This has all of the recordings of our general membership meetings. It has all of our trainings. It's a place where you can go back and, if you're like me and you don't catch as much auditorily as in other forms of retaining information, you can go back and rewatch or go to a specific segment where you needed a little more information or needed to pause it. And then next Thursday, 1 week from today, at 9 a.m. on Zoom, we are having a food benefits training. So this is going to cover the basics of eligibility, applications. It's going to talk a little bit about what folks that maybe have different documentation status or immigration status can access. So this is a benefit pretty much if you work with anyone. This is a good training for you to go to because we all need food and we need access to it. Thank you for throwing that link into the chat. Many of you are probably aware that we are all anxiously awaiting the Supreme Court decision on Gloria Johnson versus Grants Pass. So we are gonna take a little bit of time to just ground us into that as we await that announcement, because regardless of that announcement, we have a lot of work ahead of us to do around the civil rights of people that are living unhoused. Okay. We could move on to our mission, vision, and values. Do I have someone in the audience that would love to read our mission, vision, and values for us today? We love to do this as a part of our collective communal building.
All right, if nobody else is going to, here I am.
Thank
Jeannie.
you.
Oh, of course. Our mission, we mobilize our community to challenge systemic causes of homelessness and advocate for housing justice. Our vision, a region that acts on a shared sense of responsibility to ensure that everyone has a home. And our values, chat's in the way, equity, justice, and collective action.
Thank you, Jeannie. Super appreciated. All right, we're going to dive in because we have a lot of information to share. As a reminder, we love to see faces. So if you want to come on camera, we love to see your beautiful, beautiful faces. You have the ability to change your Zoom box name, pronouns, how you're associated with the coalition. Throw stuff into the chat. We're very good about monitoring that. Feel free to raise your hand if you've got a question. And if you just don't want to be included in the recording, just stay on mute and throw everything into the chat. And on that note, I'm going to hand it to my esteemed colleague, Tim. Take it away, Tim.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jody. Thanks everybody for joining us on a beautiful sunny morning. I would imagine some of y'all would rather be outside or perhaps just not on your computers, but we really appreciate you being here and we want to make this space valuable for your time and your work. If you attended our meeting last month, you likely recall that we talked about a new/returning program called Summer EBT, aka Sunbucks, that is being made available for families who rely on free and reduced school and breakfast and lunch programs in Washington State. This is a great program in that it is uniquely accessible to many families, including families who are undocumented or not citizens and therefore are not immediately eligible for a traditional EBT program. It's a big deal and it's launching this summer. To recap, it's a $120 benefit per family and it's meant to be accessible as soon as school is out. If a person is already opted into a state benefits program like SNAP or TANF, or has filled out an application to receive a free or reduced breakfast or lunch in their school district, no action is necessary. You will get this card. It's on a regular EBT card. What we planned on talking today about is that there would be a statewide application available to everybody else, everyone who is not opted into one of those programs. And we have been partnering with DSHS to release this information because it is very timely, as it is the first day of summer today, and schools are about to be out. Unfortunately, I have been given the news that DSHS has not successfully released an application in time. I was given some information that they are working hard on this and that they aim to couple an online application with paper applications, and there remains a lag. And as members of a coalition that represents a lot of families and individuals struggling with food insecurity, we recognize that it is unfortunately a little bit late, and that impacts a lot of people. And we recognize that that's not okay for a lot of families who could really benefit from this food assistance, especially when traditional like school meals are not available during the summer. So we apologize for that, and I apologize for sharing this news a little bit late. I received it a little bit late. What our plan is to share information about the application as soon as it is released. If you are opted into our newsletter, that is the best way to hear about it. Can we get our newsletter opt-in link into the chat so folks can hear from us as soon as that is available? The DSHS website is also a good place to check. If you bookmark that on like Google Chrome, you can revisit it. We also plan to give a thorough presentation about how to access the application, I guess, online and in paper, by having a DSHS representative join us next month at our monthly meeting. That is July 18th. And if we can get our July membership meeting registration link, that would be great. I can also grab it because I actually have a bit.ly. Yeah, I do want to just take a moment to acknowledge that that is inconvenient not to have this application. This is a good program that benefits a lot of people. Tens of thousands of Washingtonians will benefit from this program. I know Claire Lane is on the line. If that's a dramatic undercount, let me know, but many people can benefit from this. I do want to take just a moment also to answer any questions. I am certainly not a subject matter expert, but I know we have some in the room. And I can also try my best to answer any questions about specifically what summer EBT is, Sunbucks is. Like I said, we talked about it last month, but I'd like to answer in case anyone couldn't join or has any burning questions about how to access this public benefit.
Thanks, Tim. There are some good information and some questions in the chat. So Claire, who was with us last month and shared amazing information, is here as well. Put into the chat that Sunbucks provides $120 per eligible child each summer. So if a family has 3 eligible children, they would receive 3 cards for a total of $360 for the summer. It is a one-time benefit. It will expire, so you want to use that first. It's the $120 per kid for that summer. Then we had a question about, do we know if refugees are eligible? And said if a child is eligible for free and reduced priced school meals, then yes. Eligibility is not limited based on immigration status. And Claire, I don't know if you wanted to take just a quick moment to expand on that at all, if there was more information to share.
Yeah, I think the important thing to know is, unlike SNAP and some other programs, it's not based on immigration status at all. So a kid is eligible for Sunbucks if they're eligible for free or reduced price school meals. So either they're getting meals free because their families are already on SNAP or TANF, or lots of kids on Medicaid, or they've been identified by their schools as homeless or foster kids. If the school knew that during the school year, they will get their cards automatically. If those families didn't fill out those forms or aren't enrolled in those programs, that's where the application will come in. And DSHS is launching their application a little bit because it's a little slow, but also they're trying very hard to not duplicate applications. So the application is due to open early July, once all those automatically enrolled kids get their cards. So essentially, if families don't get their cards by the end of the month, they should either contact their school district if they can, or that's when they go and apply for the benefit online. And yeah, the OSPI estimates 550,000 kids will qualify.
Thank you for adjusting that undercount. So a lot of people in Washington benefit from this. Saha, do you have a question?
Yes, good morning, everyone. So my question is, some of King School District, for this year, the last like school year, most of the school, they received for the kids free school lunch. So that means that they're eligible for summer EBT. Do we have to submit an application for them? Because it was regarding their income. If it's high or low income, they received the free lunch at school.
That's a really good question. So I will defer to my colleague Claire, but from what I understand, if a person attends a school, which I forget the kind of label for the school, but it's a school in which at least 30% of students receive free or reduced or are eligible for free or reduced lunches and breakfasts. That means the whole school opts in. You don't need to do an individual application. You do, however, need to fill an individual application to access this program. So if you are at a school where everybody receives free lunches and breakfast and want to qualify for the summer EBT Sunbucks program, you would need to fill out a school meals application. And we have that application link. It's different for each school district, and I can find that really quick. It is on our blog for last month, but I'll put the URL in the chat. Is there anything to add for that?
I think you did a really good job of explaining. And I think this has been the challenge, right? We have really expanded free school meals for all in lots of schools all across the state. And those families are still expected to fill out a household income form each year because this is how schools get funded. that poverty rate really makes a difference for education funding. So Sunbucks, we're hoping, is a way that not only families apply for this benefit, but also schools will get that data, and it will help paint a better picture of poverty and income, family income in each school. But yeah, they will have to fill out either that school meal application or that household income form for the school district or a Sunbucks application.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, folks. I appreciate all that. And Tim, thank you for throwing into the chat the link from our YouTube for last month's membership meeting, where you can hear directly from Claire and some slides all about some of this information. So super appreciate that. But I think due to our agenda and time, I'm going to have us move on. So feel free to keep throwing questions into the chat, and we will collect them and continue to talk with Claire and the DSHS folks, so we can make sure that this is really well understood and as easily accessible. So Tim, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So pivoting over to a presentation from some guests who have been great partners disseminating some information at our South King County Forum on Homelessness meetings, and just great community colleagues to know. We are joined by M. Ashiki and Marilyn Castellan, from the KCRHA Ombuds Office. They're here to share some information about their office. It's a newer entity within the KCRHA, but it's also an independent entity that can work to mitigate challenges and investigate issues experienced by people who are experiencing homelessness, as well as provide information for service providers under KCRHA contracts. I would like to pass it over to my colleagues, Em and Marilyn. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try sharing my presentation here. Just give me 1 second.
If you can, we're having kind of a strange issue with Zoom this morning, it seems. I have your presentation here.
Oh, could you?
Absolutely. Let me just see if I can do it in presenter mode.
Angel, thank you.
Just one moment. Okay. I don't think this is in presenter mode, but it's close enough. Can you see your introduction slide?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, well, just direct me and we can go through the presentation together.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning, all. My name's Em. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm one of the ombuds here at KCRHA. Thank you for having us here this morning. And we just wanted to share some updates, but also recap some of the work that we've been doing and the folks that we serve. Tim, next slide. I'm joined by my colleague, Marilyn Castellan. Marilyn, if you could give a wave so people know who you are. Marilyn will be presenting later here, but we'd like to share a bit about our team. We're a team of 5 with diverse backgrounds and life experiences. As a team, we have a collective experience of over 54 years of professional working experience in the homelessness response services, as well as lived experience. We have experience working amongst multiple systems across diverse subpopulations such as veterans, families, refugees, community health, child welfare, public health, and survivor services. And we're constantly inspired by each other and also the work and by our mission of addressing equity, social justice, and finding great value in the work of helping healing our community. And so for today's presentation, we'll be providing a refresher on the Ombuds Office, sharing information on who we've served to date, trends we're noticing, and just general updates about the office. Next slide. So our office's responsibility was addressed in the ILA, the Interlocal Agreement, which governs KCRHA's activities, lists out the responsibilities of our office as resolving concerns, investigating complaints, collecting data, and gathering feedback to improve operations and outcomes. The Interlocal Agreement contemplates the Ombuds Office as a division of the KCRHA, and the Ombuds Office functions as a grievance handling and customer service desk. The Interlocal Agreement was developed in partnership between City of Seattle and King County to develop a regional approach to homelessness. Next slide, please, Tim. And this is our scope of responsibility. The ILA does limit the scope of our work because we do have other partners and divisions within KCRHA that address day-to-day operations of programs. But our responsibilities are the following: program administration, the administrative responsibilities of KCRHA and its contracted service providers, including contract management, performance monitoring, compliance with rules and regulations, and customer service. Also, policies, the decisions, courses of actions, protocols, or procedures implemented by KCRHA or a contracted service provider. So offering some light technical assistance and reviewing as needed. Delivery of service, the services, resources, and activities provided for people experiencing homelessness, and other activities seen by the authority, managed by RHA, including but not limited to the continuum of care responsibilities such as coordinate entry and working with our folks at HMIS. It's important to note that while these are the areas the Ombuds Office has the authority to review, the Ombuds Office does not have enforcement power and cannot compel the authority or anyone else to implement our recommendations. We provide recommendations advocating for those recommendations both internally and externally. The Ombuds Office also has the discretion to decline a request to investigate or discontinue an investigation, even if it's within our jurisdiction. Typically, we decline if it lacks sufficient resources, and we have to balance the nature and severity and complexity of the complaint against our current caseloads. And also, we do not address HR-related issues within programs, as well as acknowledging the other roles that RHA divisions have, which are programs, contract compliance, community impact, etc. And for that, I'm going to pass it off to Marilyn for who we serve.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marilyn Castellan. Pronouns are she, her. Going into who our office serves, the ILA gives the Ombuds Office the authority to respond to concerns from community members served by a KCRHA-funded program living in King County. These do tend to make up the bulk of the people who contact our office, our constituents. But the second piece here that we're excited about and really are gearing the presentation towards today, which are all of you, are KCRHA-funded service providers. And then also our office serves employees or contractors of the KCRHA. And since we wanted to speak to you all as providers today, here in the next slide, one of the tools that oh, sorry, Tim, if we could go to the next slide. One of the main ways that we gather information to assist is through our web form. And we've recently modified it to be able to respond to some of the three main categories of issues that tend to come to our office. The form is also set up for you as providers to fill it out on behalf of a client, which is really great. You can share their information. You can share your information. Something that is really important to our office is release of information forms. We do collect them for all constituents that we speak to be able to interact with providers as well. And we did want to review the form just to quickly show you all what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's possible, Tim. You let me know. If anything, I can just kind of give a verbal overview of what to expect, but if you'd be able to share that.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
What did you want me to share?
We wanted to open up our request for help web form and kind of go through the different categories.
Okay, this is a web form that I can access on a browser.
I can actually put the link in the chat.
I just messaged it to you, Tim, as well.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go through this and show a person how to access. All right, so I'm on my browser. Any browser will do.
This would be a great first step.
So just you're putting the URL in the Zoom chat, or are you emailing it to me?
Tim, if you want, I'm pretty sure that I have the form open. And so if you want, I can take over the share screen and walk us through this, and then we can bounce back to you for the PowerPoint.
Let's do that. Awesome. I'm gonna
Let's do it.
hand it over to you, Holly.
Okay.
And I put it in the link in the chat just for general reference for everyone here. Thank you so much. All right, and if we could scroll down a little, I'm sorry, scroll up a little bit. Okay. So some important information when you first see the form, it does, you know, let you know that people can submit the form on behalf of other people. So sometimes this is a family member, sometimes it's a provider. We just do eventually require to speak with that person directly just because autonomy and self-determination are really important to us. And so we want to be able to really capture from an individual what it is that they're wanting. And also something really important to mention is that as providers, if you have concerns, you can share that directly. It doesn't always have to be on behalf of a client. And then another piece of information that is really important for us to share is that the RHA is a public records agency. So all of our records are public and subject to records request. So if there are any considerations, sometimes this is a consideration for intimate partner violence, TV, or other situations where privacy would be really important. This is just a conversation we have, and in those instances, we would encourage people to call us directly. So that's just something I want to plug there. So the first box here is if you're contacting the Ombuds office, if you click down on that menu, there are 3 different options. And these are what most of our issues sort of fall into. So kind of the easiest is people who are seeking information about housing resources. And we modified the form. Before it was just a one size fits all form, and we found that it really didn't fit everybody, and it was just becoming too clunky and maybe gathering or asking people too much information for something as simple as a referral or a resource. So that's what that seek information and housing resources is, kind of a shortened version of our form. And then we have ask for support in problem solving a situation in a shelter or housing. So this is more of like a middle category where someone is just requiring maybe some mediation assistance, like a neutral third party to help advocate or help facilitate a conversation between someone and a provider. And then the third option we have here is to file a complaint. So this is a much more thorough form. And if we could click on that and have that expand into the full form, because it does encompass sort of everything that would be included in the other 2 options, but with our full list of questions. And so to file a complaint, it just gives or prompts questions to get more information, more thorough information. But the form here, as you see, sort of starts off with just some basic demographic information. We didn't make all of it required because we want to encourage people to feel comfortable submitting, and we know that they're already probably overwhelmed with a lot of demographic questions for other applications, other forms. And if we could scroll down a little bit more, some information that we use for our data collection that is really helpful during presentations is our region. If we were to go a little bit further down, so we get to capture, as a regional agency, where the majority of our issues or questions are coming from, which currently the majority of them come from Seattle. And it just makes sense for the pool of resources in the city. We also capture length of homelessness. And then if we go a little further down, you'll see that our questions are kept sort of broad and general, where we let people sort of kind of feel comfortable to just tell us everything that's going on and expand as much or as little as they want. And so once someone fills out this form, at the bottom, there's a submit button. It comes to our inbox. We contact constituents, providers within 24 to 48 hours. And that's a timeline that's really important for us to honor. So that's sort of what you can expect if you're going through this form for yourself or for somebody else. All right, thank you so much, Tim. And if we could return to the presentation. And I did put that link in the chat. So if any of you haven't seen it before, want to go and look through it, that's available to you there. So what does that look like, in practice? So we wanted to share some case examples that have come through our office. So one of the first ones here is that we mediated a conversation between a family and a provider to get information after a family member's passing. So the family was pretty disconnected and just needing some assistance and who to contact. Had very specific questions they wanted answered, and we were able to facilitate that for them. We've also reconnected a client to a housing program by contacting the provider to clarify eligibility and process to reinstate services. This is also one of the issues that comes to our office pretty frequently is we'll have a community advocate or a constituent contact our office, and for a variety of reasons, they've become disconnected, maybe have been exited out of a program they don't quite understand. And so we really try and bring more clarity and more information to a provider's process. And when able, we try to advocate to help people reinstate services. We've also supported a care team from a different agency to elevate concerns, which informed a RHA program staff on technical assistance for another program. So this one was interesting. We had a provider who both that provider and their client submitted issues to our office. And the way that we worked with the provider is we were able to, through the process of assisting their client, gather more information and also share with the provider and have answers related to concerns that they had about another program. And then lastly, here we facilitated a conversation between constituents and emergency housing voucher providers to get reinstated. So again, kind of back to that point of, or to the other example about clarifying eligibility, reinstating services, we find that a lot of what happens is just a disconnect in communication. And so oftentimes just being able to bridge communication, clarify a policy, provide more information is really helpful. And sometimes all that is really needed to help resolve an issue. And next slide, Tim. So we wanted to share what some of our 2024 priorities are. Some we've been able to accomplish and others are still in the works. So one is that we want to respond to constituents in a timely, responsive, and efficient manner. So we've done that by trying to revamp our web form. We do have that timeline of anytime a call, a web form comes into our office, we try to respond in 24 to 48 hours, and we continue to try to improve that process as we go and just learn more about people's experiences with contacting our office. The second here is we're trying to enhance community engagement by connecting with people actively experiencing homelessness, educating and learning from providers, and providing light touch technical support. And we have something to plug here in a few slides, so I'll kind of come back to this point. Our third is developing promising practices and guidance informed by constituent trends to contribute to the RHA's continuous improvement efforts in overseeing homeless services across the King County. Promote transparency of the Ombuds Office by updating our website to include constituent data, upcoming engagement events, our office primer, which is already there. You can actually already find our Ombuds Office primer, our annual report for 2023, our Q1 report, our brochure is there, and we're hoping to have translated outreach materials very shortly. And then publish our Ombuds annual report and then update report for 2024. This already has been accomplished, and you can find all of this on our Ombuds website, which we'll link here at the end of our presentation. Next slide, Tim. All right, so for community engagement, we wanted to plug some things. One of the things that we're hoping to launch in 2025 are provider sessions. So what we're hoping this would look like on our team's end would be spaces where we could present information, share common issues that are coming up that impact providers, and really create like a mutual learning space to share how our office is, what issues like we're working on, what things we've learned, and what providers want to learn from us and hear from us, and a space that is really provider focused. Some in-person events that we'll be doing recently. So we'll be at the King County Library System's Auburn Drop-In Hours, and this is actually on July 2nd, not the 25th, June 25th. And then we'll also be at the Skyway Resource Fair on the 10th. So if anyone wants to drop by, meet in person, pick up some materials like our posters or brochures, we'll be there. And then something that Em and I are really excited about is we've created a questionnaire feedback form, which we'll send out at the end of this meeting with questions about, what you really want to learn from us as providers. If there's anything we didn't cover in this presentation, something we could share, information we could share in the future. And if you'd like to connect with us, that'll give you an opportunity to do so. Thanks, Tim. And our next slide here. And that is the end of our presentation. We're hoping to answer any questions. If you have any here, please connect with us, send us an email, visit our website. You can find the documents that I mentioned earlier there. And thank you all so much for having me and Em here today.
Thank you so much for being here. I think that was a good bit of information to understand the types of situations that can warrant some support from the Ombuds Office. I'm hearing you are an independent investigator. You can you can source information about accessing resources within affordable housing and homeless service systems in King County. That's really nice. Who has questions for Em and Marilyn about the process of navigating, working with the Ombuds Office, about specific resources, expectations. We want to hear it. Allison has a question. Go for it.
Actually, thank you, Tim. I don't have a question. I was thinking I want to offer a little perspective and appreciation for our presenters, Marilyn and Em, but also for the whole concept of the Ombuds Office. And maybe by doing so, give people a little bit of chance to digest all of this and think about the questions. This is a really unusual and very special part of the Regional Homelessness Authority. And I think for a lot of people, it has been more or less below the radar screen, in part because intentionally, your department was trying to really establish itself as a separate entity with its own integrity within an agency that was big, doing lots of things, and often unhappily in the spotlight for things that are not going well. And I know that there's an enormous amount of complexity to setting up anything like this. I just really want to remind all of us that until this idea was articulated and came into being, there really weren't good options. There haven't been good options for people to try to raise up issues that they see that affect them personally or that might even be systemic issues. And, you know, there were some avenues, but they were not necessarily the right avenues to get resolution. And it's really wonderful to hear. I really appreciate your sharing the examples of some cases that have come forward. And I just want to underscore how different this is than most of the systems that we have all lived and worked through. Not easy to create something different, but it's really a special piece of what is happening that is new and different. And I also just really appreciate the ways in which you're using the opportunity of this new office to learn about what's happening for people who are experiencing service or lack of service, and for people who are attempting to provide services in a dramatically under-resourced system. So it's really quite special to hear that the work is actually already underway now, and that it's giving us some additional tools, all of us.
Thank you so much, Allison. We definitely feel the weight of the responsibility, you know, of holding this a space and holding the work for people who feel maybe they haven't been heard. So we do take it, we take our work very seriously. And I'd say that the entirety of our team is very passionate about advocacy, being a bridge, and making sure we can correct issues as best we can where we are able and in the way that our office is able to.
And echoing Marilyn, it's been a journey and we couldn't have done it without y'all. And also people and programs that complaints come up in, they also want to do better. People want to progress, they do want to change. And that's something that's been really exciting, is to hear how people are not resistant to feedback. And we aren't either. And so that's why we created that form at the end of this presentation of, we want to learn like what y'all want to understand more, not only about our office, but even broadly the KCRHA structure, because we're one division of the RHA and we're connected to other parts, and we're happy to collaborate with other divisions. But just wanted to plug that out there. Jody?
Yeah, I just wanted to tack on a little bit. When I was at Healthcare for the Homeless Network at Public Health, in that lead clinical quality role, we often got a lot of these types of like concerns, questions, complaints, and we were not staffed to do it. There wasn't a system or a structure with which it could be actually addressed or thought of, you know, in a very systemic way. So it's just underscoring, I think, you know, you all's amazing work and Allison's point of this is rare and special and needed. So just thank you for being here. That was all I had to say.
Thank you. I think maybe RHA can succeed now. That would be so great to really be able to succeed at what they were initially created for, over 5 years ago. And I had a question in the chat. I am curious how many divisions. I tried to look on your website, but it's just there's no space where it says what the divisions are. And so how can you help
And
us? How many
Jean-
divisions are there? And
Jeannie,
what are they?
I'm gonna interject here just for a quick second because if Em and Marilyn have that information and are able to throw it into the chat, that would be super helpful. But I think for time, we're going to move on and not talk KCRHA writ large. We were going to kind of really keep it focused on the ombuds. So I would say, Em and Marilyn, if you have that information, great. If not, maybe who we can reach out to answer Jeannie's question would be wonderful. If there are other questions for Em and Marilyn, please throw them into the chat and we'll make sure we get all this wrapped up into our blog write-up. So I am Em, Marilyn, thank you so much. And I think I'm handing it off to Allison.
Thank you very much, Jody. Thank you, Em, and thank you, Marilyn. And I really want to underscore, I hope that folks ask questions. I think there's a really interesting opportunity to think about how folks who are doing direct services also see things that could be improved or changed. And I heard you offer up that there are some interest in talking with service providers as well as people who are trying to access or are using services. And Jeannie, just a note for you, this is really, as Jody said, this is not a presentation about all things King County Regional Homelessness Authority. That would be a totally different meeting. But, you know, I think it's fair to say that the agency as a whole continues to be undergoing a lot of changes, including with a new chief executive officer who's going to be starting in August, and additional staff hires that are coming in to really important positions. So I think this particular ombuds office is a piece of it that we really applaud and want to see continue. And it's not been the easiest of paths to setting up a regional system, but we all have a real interest and need for it to be successful. And of course, I have to note that the number one thing that is holding back our community's collective ability to do better in responding to the crisis of homelessness and the disproportionate ways in which Black, Indigenous, and other people of color are affected by homelessness is that we have never invested the resources that are necessary. So some of the things that we do as we come together in coalition is to learn together. Thank you so much to everyone who's helped us do that in the first part of this meeting. And another piece of what we do is we come together to take action or prepare to take action and to build our community's strength and practice what it looks like to do the work while also saying this is not adequate for us to do this work. One of the things that we at the coalition are extremely excited to share with you all this morning, and we really ask for your help to get this far and wide, is the fact that we are hiring for the first time ever a communications lead. As you all can understand, there is so much that we do, so much that you do, and so much that we need to share about what is working and going well for people in our community and what are the things that are wrong and need to be corrected. And we really need some help to do that. So we have a communications lead position. It is a full-time hourly position with benefits. We are hiring. It is live on our website. It is posted in a number of places. The link to the position description and how to apply has just been placed in the chat. And we really know, and you all understand this well, that the best way to get a strong, diverse, skilled group of applicants is for you, our members and friends and allies, to help us get the word out. This position is new for us, and in a lot of ways it feels really, really overdue. I want to just acknowledge and recognize the tremendous work that every single member of the coalition staff team does to do accurate, timely, and creative communications work. And we have a lot of stories to gather and a lot of stories to tell. Neil, I see you on the call here. Hope that you can help get the word out in the world of folks who work in communications. And we want to let you know this is not necessarily a position that someone who has a specific communications degree or journalism background is the only eligible person for. Obviously, we're very interested in those demonstrated skill sets. But as the position description itself, I hope, makes clear, we're looking for people who are excellent communicators themselves, who have an understanding of the strategic analysis that we are bringing to this work, who understand how to listen to and speak with a wide range of people and communicate effectively with a lot of different audiences. That could be people with various backgrounds. So please help us get the word out far and wide. With Tim's help, we're going to be making sure this is on our link tree. We're putting it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We've posted it in many of the job sites. And you can just send people to homelessinfo.org because the position is posted on our website. We will answer some basic questions if someone has them at hr@homelessinfo.org. But really the most important thing is priority deadline is Monday, July 1st at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We are asking for a cover letter that is responsive to why the person applying is interested in this job. We're asking, of course, for a resume, and we're asking for a couple of examples of that person's work so that we have a sense of how they use words and pictures to inspire others to understand and take action. So we are super excited, and the key to all of these hiring processes is getting a great pool of applicants. Thank you all in advance for helping us to spread the word. And that brings me right to one of the things that we have been doing a lot of communicating with all of you and our public partners about for many months now, and that is coming soon upon us. Last month, we hosted together with the attorneys at the Northwest Justice Project and staff at the ACLU of Washington, a community advocacy briefing on advocacy for and with our neighbors who are unhoused and whose civil rights and human rights are being affected very badly by local government's actions. That community advocacy briefing, we had over 500 people register and over 250 people attend. And we were thrilled at the interest, even as we and all of you know that the Supreme Court of the United States is within the next 10 days going to be making a decision in an extraordinarily important case that is Grants Pass versus Gloria Johnson. Comes out of the town of Grants Pass, Oregon. And that case is something that the Supreme Court took up a review of. There's a lot of information in our community advocacy briefing, which is also on our YouTube channel. But I think most of the folks on this call here have heard about that case and understand that the decision is likely to have huge implications for the people we work with and serve, and for all of us. And unfortunately, I mean, that word doesn't even do justice to the pain with which I say this. It is highly likely that the Supreme Court decision is going to be very bad for people without homes and for all of us who work with, care about, serve, and advocate for and with them. I could be wrong, and I would be very happy to be wrong, but we think that the best case scenario is that the case is basically just punted. And the worst case scenario is that the Supreme Court decision is probably going to overturn in part or in whole the current decision that a lot of folks are relying upon, which is the Martin versus Boise decision, that says that if there are folks who are in public spaces, living in public spaces because they don't have alternative places to live, and there is no available accessible shelter for them, they can't be fined, arrested, jailed. That is a law that that has not been as powerful as some would like it to be, simply because laws don't enforce themselves. But the Martin versus Boise decision, nevertheless, is an extraordinarily important precedent at the federal level. So stay tuned, because literally every morning, the first thing I do is I check the SCOTUS blog website to see what Supreme Court decisions are being handed down. You may be seeing in the news, there are a lot of significant decisions coming down, because at the end of June is when they issue decisions, right before the Supreme Court justices take a long summer break. So we know it's coming, and we are preparing, and you are part of our preparation. Just to remind you all, the case that we and 3 people without homes in Burien have brought to overturn Burien's unjust and cruel law is in the state of Washington. It is not under federal law. Also, the ACLU of Washington, the ACLU of Washington has a case against the city of Seattle, and that too is going through the state court system now. So it isn't as if when a decision comes down, everything is lost. And yet, this is a really difficult time for all of us. We know that there are folks in legislative jurisdictions, in legislative bodies all across this region, this state, and really all across the United States that are poised to introduce really bad laws that punish people for the alleged crime of being too poor to have a home. And we know that there are laws already on the books, already being enforced, that are cruel and punitive, and some of them will be more vigorously enforced. So what are we going to do about it? We can't fight every single case, but somewhat like the Ombuds office asks for folks to really bring issues forward, we are asking you all to be the eyes and ears and smart folks paying attention to what is happening on the ground, documenting carefully, and bringing those examples and evidence to us. And equally important, we have messages to deliver. And chief among them is this: just because it may become more possible to pass bad laws that punish people, that waste public dollars, and that don't do anything to address people's need for shelter, housing, and services and dignity, doesn't mean that you should. There are way better alternatives, and this community and others can demonstrate what those alternatives look like. We always try to remind folks in Burien and elsewhere, we are not against Burien, the community. We are against a really bad law that the current majority of the Burien City Council passed into law. But that's not all of the folks who live in Burien. And some of the people who have resisted that law and the things that caused it to be passed are on this call, and we really appreciate and thank them. And just as when other really huge backward steps have taken place in our policy and practice sector. We don't give up. In many ways, it reinforces our desire and our passion to push back, get smarter about how we do that, and unite. And that's what the coalition is all about. So, news is coming. We will be able to share information with you when it comes, but obviously that is actually just one step in what we're all engaged in. So I see there's a lot in the chat. I really have not had the chance to look at it. I will after I'm done with my portion, and I'll try to respond if there's something that needs a response from me. In addition to the fact that we are hiring our communications position, we have actually already hired a new position. We have a staff person who probably won't be on these calls too often, but you may hear from and interact with her. Her name is Noah Guter. She is our new operations and systems manager, and she has already hit the ground running with our team. We're really thrilled to have Noah join us. And we have a bittersweet, fond farewell to Kristen McFadden, who has been our special projects coordinator with an emphasis on special. She has joined us as part of her practicum experience, getting her master's degree in social work. Kristen is also a practitioner working in the community. So we're only saying goodbye to her in her current role at the coalition. But we wanted to publicly appreciate and thank Kristen for her work with the coalition. Her very first day with us was Housing and Homelessness Advocacy Day, and she jumped on the bus and and wound up getting her picture on the front page of the New York Times. And we really, really appreciate, Kristen, your wonderful spirit in which you have cheerfully and skillfully taken up absolutely any and every task we have asked of you. And you knew coming in that it was going to be a wide range of activities, and boy, has it been. We so appreciate you, and we want to give you a few minutes to just say whatever you would like to say.
Thank you so much, Allison. That's so kind. I've had a really incredible experience being here, and I've learned so much, which was my goal, of course, along with you all as a direct service provider. I just really want to better understand how to show up and how to advocate both within and outside of my role. So being here, I've just seen the immense work that goes on behind the scenes to bring you all of this valuable information. And being part of this coalition is really how we keep doing the work, because together we are truly stronger than when we do things individually. And regardless of whatever SCOTUS decides, we're going to keep fighting together, and that really shores up my confidence in our community. But yeah, I really want to give a heartfelt thank you to Jody, Tim, Rachel, Hallie, and especially Allison. Thank you so much for taking me under your wing. They do so much, so I don't know how they managed to decide to let me squeeze in here as well, but they have, and they've done so very graciously. Like Allison said, I will not be disappearing. I do plan to continue participating in this coalition. And if you want to reach out to me, you're welcome to. I'll share my information in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And one more thing, do you want to just let people know what your day job is, so they know how to connect with you for certain kinds of issues?
Yes, thank you, Allison. So I'm a social service specialist. I work for Sound Generations. So if some of you may be familiar, Sound Generations is a service specialist, overall for older adults. We have so many different types of programs, including senior rights assistance, Meals on Wheels, Hide Shuttle. Pretty much we're all over the place in terms of what we provide, but I'm in the caregiver support program. So I help advocate on behalf of folks who are caring for their loved ones and helping to connect them with services, including in-home health care, and, you know, just providing information that's necessary to keep doing that work. So if you know any caregivers, please send them our way. I'll also include information about Sound Generations in the chat so that you have a better idea of what programming we offer. But thank you, Allison, for the plug.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's how that's how we like to do it. We only take the best for our interns and then we never let them go. So my you know, all our best wishes are going with you. I think we are a little over, but wanted to make sure that Hallie has time at least to preview for all of you the fact that there are 3 ballot initiatives that you may be hearing about coming up on the November ballot. And we want to just give you a little preview. Generally, the board of the Coalition on Homelessness takes a vote before we take a position on any ballot initiative, and the board is likely to take a vote in July. But because this is being talked about now, we thought it's really important for you to have a little bit of information, and we will bring more to you in our July meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. I'll just do a quick overview of 3 citizen initiatives that you'll be seeing on the ballot this coming season. Since as Allison explained, our board hasn't officially taken a position on these yet, so I'll keep it like very nonpartisan for now. And then once our board takes a position on things, we can, you know, as part of our role as a 501c3 nonprofit, we can take positions on ballot initiatives, and we can explain to voters why we took the position that we did. But for now, I'll just give a little bit of background information. So one of those initiatives is would eliminate the cap and trade part of the Climate Commitment Act. And you might be thinking, why are we talking about climate stuff? We're the Homeless Coalition. And part of really what we've seen in the last handful of years as climate change has really accelerated severe weather is the really how vulnerable people experiencing homelessness are to those impacts of climate change. So we're looking at this really holistically in terms of our role in this one. And the impact of that initiative would essentially gut the funding mechanism for the Climate Commitment Act. So it would cut funding to all sorts of programs that the legislature currently funds. I think that in its first year raised about $1.8 billion for all sorts of different climate related projects. So like think electric buses, electric ferries, wildfire protection, solar panels, salmon recovery, really everything under the sun. So the legislature would have to either end those programs or come up with some other yet unknown mechanism to fund them. So that's one, and that's the Climate Commitment Act one. The second one has to do with repealing the state's capital gains tax. As you probably know, if you live in Washington, we don't have an income tax. This is just about the closest thing we have to a progressive income tax. It taxes capital gains that are over $250,000, which is not probably most of us that are making those kinds of transactions. And that raised about just shy of $900 million last year. I'll note also that revenue came from just like a very small fraction of the wealthiest people in the state. And those proceeds support early learning, childcare, and school construction. So there is an initiative on the ballot that would get rid of that funding and get rid of that tax. We are interested in this particularly because we are really interested in promoting progressive revenue, so revenue that has more of an impact on the wealthy than on the poor, in order to fund all sorts of critical government services. We really don't want to have to rely on a regressive tax structure that disproportionately burdens the folks that you serve in order to fund those services. That just doesn't make sense. So we're interested in this because we are interested in progressive revenue broadly, including the stores from the state. And the last one, the last initiative would allow people to opt out of a new program that we have in Washington State called WA Cares. It's a long-term healthcare benefit that people can tap into after essentially contributing a portion of their income for 10 years. And this allowing people to opt in rather than having it as it is now as a requirement for everyone to contribute, for everyone who earns a paycheck that's eligible to contribute, would basically gut the program. That's the worry, at least. And having a state-provided long-term healthcare benefit like this is really beneficial to everyone who might need long-term healthcare benefits, including people experiencing homelessness if they earn a paycheck that contributes to this program, because we know they're disproportionately likely to have a disability and maybe to need these types of services to get healthcare that they need. It's also sort of like the closest thing we have to like socialized medicine, and so that's, you know, just a bit of context to frame that one. So those are 3 initiatives that you can expect to see. That's just to sort of get you started on thinking about those. A big part of what we do at the coalition is voter engagement, education, and registration. So if you're interested in helping folks get registered to vote, if you're interested in volunteering with us to share information about voting, definitely reach out to Tim. He does a lot of amazing work in the community to get out the vote. All right, I think that's all from me for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hallie. Please reach out to me for volunteer opportunities. We have, like Hallie said, opportunities to connect with people around registering to vote and sharing information about their rights. We also have other projects going on, such as our Project Pool, which helps to provide backpacks, school supplies, and culturally competent literature for service providers who work with families. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about those. We have some opportunities this summer. In the interest of time, yes, what's up, Alex?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just let's be very specific because it's coming right up. The week of July 22nd is the week for Project Cool volunteer opportunities. And we know lots of folks have really loved being part of Project Cool in many years past. Backpacks and school supplies to 1,500, maybe closer to 1,600 this year, kids experiencing homelessness in school districts all across King County. So if you are interested in volunteering the week of July 22nd, please email Tim soon because we have fewer volunteer opportunities than we used to because of changes to how we've done the program, thanks to our friend COVID. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much, Allison. So yeah, we have very short-term opportunities for you, for your seniors and college students who have time to spend some time volunteering with us, with those who have the privilege of taking a day off work here and there to do volunteer. We would love to hear from you. Let's transition over to our community announcements section. Hallie, my colleague Hallie has a slide that can give us some helpful prompts to move through this. At the coalition, we want to hear from you. We want to hear about what opportunities your programs and projects and organizations and networks have. We want to hear about resources for unhoused community members. We want to hear about resources and opportunities for providers. Please let us know what's going on.